You know, like I like this definition of entrepreneur, of someone who will work 24 hours a day for themselves to avoid working 1 hour a day for someone else.
Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the brand.
Hi, I'm Bryan Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with world traveler, entrepreneur, and best-selling author Chris Guillebeau. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, Brian.
Chris, I usually ask my guests, how'd you get this job?
How'd I get this job? I wasn't good at anything else.
A nonconformist.
I was a terrible employee. I wasn't good at answering to other people. I had to find a way to, craft my own way in the world, essentially.
What were you doing before you started this whole adventure?
It depends on where you want to start. I was a high school dropout. I was a FedEx employee. I worked, a 4-hour shift in the middle of the night. Then I started selling things on eBay 12 years ago. Mostly things from my apartment. And I realized I could make $20 an hour doing that. And I was making like $8 an hour at FedEx. So I was like, great, victory. I started traveling. I lived in West Africa for 4 years, came back to the States, did a graduate degree. Then I began to embark on this project of visiting every country in the world. So I was starting little businesses around the way, and I was beginning to write about the project, but basically starting in 2008, since then I've been on this quest, on this journey, and then building a community along the way.
So let's break that down just a little bit. So how did you get from sort of part-time employee, high school dropout, to this volunteer work you did in Africa?
The volunteer work, that was just like, something that I felt like I had to do, I guess is the best way to put it. I felt like I was just kind of depressed at the time, and I read this story of this surgeon from California who had spent 18 years of his life living on this hospital ship in West Africa, and he met his wife and they had kids and raised that whole family there, and I was just really challenged by that, and I want to do something like that. I don't necessarily want to spend 18 years maybe, but maybe I can do something, maybe I can do something to contribute and to help. And I like the idea of traveling to a different kind of place. Like my friends were going to Europe, maybe Australia, great places, but I wanted to go to Sierra Leone, which was the poorest country in the world at the time.
So was it kind of this void that was in your life before of not having much meaning or depth maybe, that you wanted to do something meaningful? Is that what got you to Africa?
Yeah, something like that. And then after 9/11 I was depressed, just like a lot of people were, and just trying to seek to find a way to contribute to something. And I didn't have a lot of skills. That's the thing, I really didn't have a lot of skills. Like I had earned a degree in sociology, but what do you do with that? It's a great subject to study, but...
You become a marketer.
Yeah, I did. I became a marketer, but yeah, I was like, I will go and carry boxes, I will go and drive a Land Rover, I will do whatever I need to do to contribute to something. And it was so great. I don't want to present it like it was this selfless thing, like it was good for me.
Yeah, well, it reminds me a lot actually of Scott Harrison's journey, Charity Water. Yeah. And so you have a bit of a tie to Charity Water too, right? With your
I met Scott on his very first day in Africa. Wow. 5 years before Charity Water, when he came over on his own kind of year of penance, or his own year of contributing to something. So we used to hang out and drive those Land Rovers around Liberia and Sierra Leone.
What a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Now he's doing huge things, so it's great.
And you are too. So let's talk about some of the books. So for those who don't know you very well, I think you're the consummate entrepreneur. You are the poster child, or at least the case study for how to do it right.
I don't know if I am for how to do it right, maybe for how to do it. I like this definition of entrepreneur, of someone who will work 24 hours a day for themselves to avoid working 1 hour a day for someone else. So maybe that's not always smart, but that is who I am. I was always that's my motivation. How can I create something for myself? Independence is my value, freedom is my value, how can I make it? But I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Not at all. Talk about your first book a little bit, and so where some of that inspiration came from. So you got back from Africa, you hit the United States, hit back on the ground, and then what?
So I had been traveling throughout Africa and other places. I'd been to about 30 to 50 countries, and then I decided to try to go to 100 countries. That was my first goal. And I was like, I'm going to go to 100 countries, I'm going to start writing about it on this blog, and maybe 5 people will care about it,
So it was like a travel blog kind of idea, or was it just...
Travel blog-ish.
Was it a bucket list kind of thing, an accomplishment kind of thing? I wanted to do something that I can keep score of.
Yeah, keeping score is a good way to put it. I was always a video game player. I loved lists. I loved writing things down. So I was writing down all the countries I had been to, and that did give me the motivation to say, well, what about 100 countries? How does that work? How much money does that cost?
Yeah.
I realized it would cost about $30,000.
Yeah, how were you living? And I mean, I imagine you had a backpack on probably and the clothes on your back, and that was about it.
Sure. No, I mean, I had somewhere. I was doing some small business consulting. You know, I was able to pay the bills. I had these entrepreneurial skills that I developed a little bit. Wasn't able to like create a huge company or anything, but I was able to get by and pay for my travel. And
yeah, you're making inroads in the country you lived in.
Sure, sure. So we did 100 countries, and then it was like, okay, every country in the world. Like, because if you just go to 100, then you can maybe just go to the easy ones, you know, like you skip the hard ones. And so every country in the world. And then I started writing about it, and the first book came about through that journey. But it wasn't really a travel blog. I learned pretty quickly that I was a bad travel writer. I wasn't good at writing like, you know, just beautiful destination pieces and sharing all about food and culture and people. Like, there's so many people who do that so well.
Yeah. Did you have a camera along with you?
I had a camera because I thought I should have a camera. And I was like, this is what you do when you travel. You have a camera, you take photos.
What year was this?
This was 2006 when I'm starting, 2007, 2008. I had a digital camera, right? But I wasn't good at, you know, taking photos, and I found it kind of stressful.
So it wasn't iPhone years?
No, pre-iPhone, yeah, pre-Instagram, pre all of that. Actually, you know, so what I did was I stopped writing about destination travel, and I stopped taking photographs except for cell phone photos eventually. And I started writing about process. I started writing about the process of undertaking a quest, you know, like going to every country in the world. And what does that look like? And how does one do it? And what are the lessons that I'm learning along the way? What's going well? What is not going well? Like, I'm screwing up everywhere I go. I'm making all these mistakes and have what I call misadventures, you know, at each stop along the way. But I'm still going, right? And so I guess I learned I was better at that. I was better at writing about process than I was about actual travel.
Gotcha. And what did go right and what did go wrong?
The goal was to do it before my 35th birthday. So last year I turned 35 and I traveled to Norway, which was my final country number 193 of 193.
Wow.
It was amazing and transformative, and I'm so glad I did it. You know, when I had this idea, it was one of these things like, it felt like a crazy idea, right? Like, it's this crazy, audacious idea. How does one go to every country in the world?
It's your Everest. I mean, it's...
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me, you know? But the more I thought about it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I knew if I didn't try, I would always regret it. So that's kind of what went well. As for what didn't, I mean, there's a long list of things that didn't go well. I got deported from Eritrea. I almost got deported from Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. I made countless mistakes with my visas, with my plane tickets, with my logistics and travel in general. I was on an island in the South Pacific, and I watched the only airplane of the week take off, you know. So all of those things, even the things that went wrong, they gave me a lot of confidence. Because in the beginning, I was super nervous. I was really anxious. You know, I'm like packing really carefully. I'm like checking everything like twice, 3 times, 4 times. Toward the end, I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's going to be fine. I actually made more mistakes at the end of the journey than I did in the beginning. And it's because I stopped worrying so much. You know, I realized like most things are going to be okay, right? And through this journey, I have gained that self-confidence. I have gained those travel skills, that awareness of the world, maybe a bigger focus or a better focus. I was always interested in experimenting, right, and trying things, and embracing the discomfort, I guess, or taking risks, or maybe thinking about risks differently. I know some of your other guests have talked about this as well. You know, for me, being an entrepreneur was the conservative choice. You know, it was the least risky decision because I felt in control of my own destiny. You know, I felt like if I succeed, it's on me. If I fail, it's on me. It's not because of some company. Right. It's not because of some external circumstance. Right. You know, and whatever I do is going to be a result of my efforts, for better or worse, right? But to me, that felt very safe. Actually, it didn't feel like I was taking this huge risk, you know, and going out on my own because I didn't know any alternative. You know, the alternatives were undesirable, let's say. What was risky? Yeah. That's good. That's good. Maybe starting to open up a bit more about how this whole thing works and writing about it. I wasn't a writer. I learned to write by writing. I'm very private. Yeah, I'm an introvert. You know, I don't spend a lot of time with other people, or at least not naturally. But now, like, I do have this great community. I'm fortunate to have this great community of awesome, remarkable people. And I started, you know, connecting with them and engaging with them and participating all over the world. That was really fun. It was a little risky in the beginning because I didn't know what I was getting into. You know, I find most people are kind of like deriving their strength from the solo journey or the independent journey of like, maybe I'm working in cooperation with other people, but it's on me, you know? It's on me, and I relate to that. I think that's good. I think that's positive. I try to have a gratitude practice. You know, I try to be grateful. I catch myself complaining a lot. I've been trying to work on that. I feel like I have this great life, you know. I've got this middle seat on an airplane, you know, that's going to take me to like a beautiful city where there's going to be awesome people, and yeah, that sucks, right? Yeah, first world problems. And so I'm trying to just, you know, live in more awareness of the great life that I have. I mean, does anyone actually say like you are innately an entrepreneur? It's more a product of your socialization and what you're drawn to and what you learn to enjoy and not enjoy as you grew up or something. I don't know. I mean, it's like a big thing. But I would say I think they are made, you know. But we are a product of our environment, certainly. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm not always sure what to say. Like, I'm not always good at advising like people how to be a great employee or how to manage employees. I don't do that well either. I don't always say that. Like, I do go and talk to companies. I'm not going to say like every employee should quit. But I guess I would still encourage independence. I would encourage independence and maybe a sense of mission as well. I do think people really respond well to a mission. Like, we're in this together. We're going to put a man on the moon. So I think like that's much more important than a ping pong table. That's the other thing. You know what I mean? Like, don't give me free snacks. Like, that's free snacks are good, right? But like, change my life. You know what I mean? Like, give me something to believe in. I'm afraid of what's next. That's what keeps me up at night, because I spent 10.5 years doing this and I loved it. I loved that slog, and the value in it was I always know, here's my next task. I always know, and I'm gonna do a bunch of other stuff too. I'm gonna be building this empire building kit. I'm gonna be writing these books, you know, developing these other things, but at the heart of it all is I've got this goal. And I go away at the end of the year, and I plan out the year, and I'm like, 18 countries next year, gotta do it this way, this way, this way, and now I don't have that. And so that's a lot of freedom, and that's really great, but it's also kind of agitating because I've defined my whole identity based on this for 10 years, and now I've got to change it. But here's also what I think though, like, this is a good problem to have. This kind of existential angst is a good problem to have, because this whole quest, it gave me this identity. Without this quest, I wouldn't have this. I wouldn't have this community. I wouldn't have the business, the books, all that kind of stuff, but more importantly, just like the experience, like the life experience, the life fulfillment. So I'll figure it out. Yeah, I probably hold grudges, that's true. I put that on my list of confessions that I'm giving to you here today. I think it's important to realize that just as you have the naysayers and you have the fans, you also have a large group of people who just don't care, right? A lot of people just aren't really interested in what you're doing, and that's all right. I mean, there was one story, like this guy in the very beginning, I wrote about this in the book, he was really critical of the going to every country thing, and he was like, this quest is actually really easy because all it takes is enough time and enough money. So at first I'm really offended. You know, I'm like, oh, what a jerk. Like, he has no idea what's involved with, like, there's so much, you know, is involved with this. But then, like, kind of like separate that a little bit. I'm like, okay, so forget that person. Who cares about him? Like, maybe he's projecting something. But let's look at the actual, like, criticism itself. Or maybe not the criticism, but the concept. Like, enough time, enough money. It is true that a big goal requires certain resources. And it has certain constraints. And it has these matrix because we're keeping score, like the video game, right? So actually, this is a little bit helpful to me. If I think about time and money, you know, and I thought about it for the rest of the quest, the whole rest of the project. How much time, how much money, there are other resources, other challenges, energy, trade-offs, sacrifices, things I can't say yes to because I'm saying yes to this. But again, it's a very logical kind of thing. So I held a grudge, but then I realized that was actually helpful.
Let's talk about the happiness pursuit.
Sure. As I was coming to the end of this 10-year quest of going to every country in the world, I knew I wanted to write a book about that. But I didn't want to just write a travel memoir. I didn't want it to be like, here's Chris's travel stories, like a bunch of crazy stuff happened, that's great. That's not what I wanted to do, you know? So that for me, I think, is how I've been able to succeed. It's like, yeah, introverted, yeah, sensitive, like not good at a lot of things, right? My main skill was like carrying the boxes, right, for FedEx. But I'm gonna keep going, right? I do have that competitive drive. I am gonna work hard, and I'm not afraid to start things. There's this great quote that I used in the new book. It's from Swiss Miss, or Tina Roth-Eisenberg. She started a number of businesses. And she said, I want to be remembered as a person who wasn't afraid to start things. And I really relate to that.
All right, we've been spending a few minutes with world traveler, best-selling author, and entrepreneur Chris Guillebeau. Chris, thanks for being part of the show.
Thank you so much. Huge honor.
Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the brand.